Our cities keep changing as the world does. Concepts for sustainable, intelligent, and futuristic cities started to circulate. Greater sustainable and livable city concepts are being developed by designers, planners, and architects. We assume you are aware of the line from Saudi Arabia by this point. But what about Telosa? Imagine residing in a city with a stake in the land economic system, where residents benefit as the city prospers. Quite fantastic, right? But well, what is a city all about? And who is the driving force behind Telosa City? Well, let's find out. Telosa and Marc lore. The term Telosa comes from the ancient Greek word used by Aristotle, meaning highest purpose. It claims to include all the characteristics of the metropolis of the future. The billionaire Marc is the man behind this city, which will house about 5 million people and has sustainability as its central focus. Lore wants to show that it is possible to construct a large city from the ground up. So where precisely would this futuristic city be situated? Location. Telosa, constructed entirely from scratch, will be situated on land in a desert in the United States. The exact location has not yet been decided, but it is likely to be in one of the states of Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Arizona, or Texas, though the Appalachian mountain range is also a possibility. The final location is influenced by climate, water availability, and logistical communication. The most crucial factor now is to attain social and political consensus for a city that aims to improve life quality with and for people, not technology, as stated by a former CEO of Walmart. The first phase of construction, which aims to welcome its first occupants by 2030, would cost $25 billion and have a capacity to house 50,000 people. According to lore, $400 billion will be required to finish it. This would be made possible with the help of benefactors, contributors, subsidies, and other funding sources. But why are they proposing constructing Telosa in the middle of a desert when there is so much land in the United States? The fact that there's a ton of inexpensive and easily accessible undeveloped land in the American West is one of the primary justifications for this choice. This low-priced land also has the potential to pay for itself as the city develops over time, thanks to Telosa's strategy to invest rising land values back into city services. Although the property for Telosa development may be relatively cheap, it is not the best or most prudent choice to build a bustling metropolis in the middle of a desert. These issues that Telosa might have in the future have been well demonstrated by Saudi Arabia's recent building of Neom and the Line. Neom's construction is already running behind schedule. It was initially intended to be partially finished by 2020 and built upon in 2025. It turns out that to build on undeveloped desert terrain, operating facilities must first be built to house construction workers and their tools in the harsh environment. Challenges include intense heat, lack of water, and the energy demands of constructing a city from scratch in a harsh environment. The vision. 3 words summarize the new city Danish architect Bjarke Ingels created for American businessman Marc: open, fair, and inclusive. The goal of Telosa is to build a new city in America that raises the bar for urban living around the world, increases human potential, and serves as a model for coming generations. In response to the growing inequality in the U.S., Lore originally devised the idea for Telosa. His proposal is based on the Equitism socio-economic model, which, in contrast to capitalism, is based on collective ownership. Capitalism has been a fantastic economic paradigm, but there are serious faults, particularly in the areas of income and wealth inequality. Because America was founded on the land ownership concept, many of these faults exist today. According to Lore's plan, all of Telosa's land will be given to a communal endowment, which will use the rising land values to pay for improved public services like training, housing, healthcare, and education. Lore and Bjarke Ingels Group are planning Telosa to create a sustainable, transparent, inclusive, and equitable new metropolis. Water recycling, renewable energy resources, equal access to education and training, and access to parks and other open areas are among the strategies mentioned on the Telosa website. The rendered images depict a futuristic Equitism tower emerging from the desert. A photovoltaic roof, raised water storage, and aeroponic farms that will share and distribute produce to residents are all integrated into the building. Bikers and pedestrians will be given priority on Telosa streets, and while slow-moving autonomous vehicles can comfortably coexist on the road with humans and other animals. Training facilities, cultural organizations, and retail establishments spill out into the street, where shaded community areas stimulate interaction among locals. Telosa's public realm is alive and bustling, with open space weaved throughout the compact urban structure. The city parks are covered in native vegetation, include meticulously tended reservoirs that hold water for the city, and give all inhabitants access to open space close to their homes. By 2030, the first Telosa residents will begin to settle there. But what determines who will first inhabit the city by 2030? Are there any requirements to become a resident of Telosa? Residing in Telosa. It is yet unknown how the first 50,000 people in Telosa will be chosen. One thing Lore can guarantee is that racial, gender, sexual, and religious diversity will be a key priority. However, from the perspective of public perception, selection may be one of Telosa's biggest challenges. Simply mentioning citizenship requirements can have a discriminatory undertone. A venture capital fund set up by Lore, which may provide housing for businesses relocating to the city, will be one incentive to attract people to Telosa. But what other professions would the first citizens pursue? With the help of his team of 50 volunteers and full-timers, which includes architects, historians, researchers, economists, creatives, designers, engineers, and climate specialists, Lore said much of the framework for the first settlers will be sorted out. The hope of the Equitism model, according to Lore, is to allow the people to shape the city's culture after the first phase starts in 2030, and then highlight the diversity through respect and an equal value system. But do you believe that this megacity will come to pass? Future or fantasy? Similar to other proposed future cities worldwide today, Telosa has two potential outcomes. It could become a reality or remain a mere idea on paper. Despite how simple it would be to simply write off a billionaire who is constructing a city in the desert, we are enthusiastic about Telosa for several reasons. To begin with, Telosa is a hyper-focused specialty. Lore's approach, which openly promotes the city's moral and values up front, is distinctive. Although it may deter those who view his woke-topia as unrealistic, he likely doesn't mind as long as he can attract enough supporters who find these values appealing. To convince people to move to the desert, they need to want to do so. Additionally, publicity. Lore's idea has already garnered significant media coverage, with some of it being positive, some neutral, some skeptical, and some negative. This is advantageous for Lore because his financing model depends on outside investment. His geographic location choices almost certainly will need to draw new residents rather than rely on the local population, and his economic and futuristic prospects will require businesses to relocate or at least significantly invest in offices there. The media attention he has received so far is encouraging, but if he wants to draw the resources, both financial and human, necessary for his goal, he will need to keep it up. But what if it doesn't work? What are some of the factors that could lead to the downfall of Telosa? What if? Location comes first. Although the choice of Telosa's final location is still up in the air, promotional materials and interviews from Lore appear to suggest that the American West, specifically a desert location, is the most likely option. This brings up a wide range of logistical issues, particularly in relation to the purchase of water. Existing towns in arid climates, like Phoenix, are already at risk of water shortages, and they are likely reluctant to share the already limited supply. Like Dubai, Telosa won't be situated adjacent to an ocean, hence there won't be any desalination facilities there to provide water. Telosa is searching for desert land because it is affordable, and it is affordable because it is difficult to live there. Then, on top of that, there are a variety of additional political and logistical challenges, such as setting up a government, obtaining zoning and building permits, and connecting to the existing resource and transportation infrastructure. Each of these challenges requires significant time, money, and effort. So what do you think about this $400 billion futuristic city? Will it just remain a fantasy, or will it be a reality?